I don't know if a 22-year-old human has the emotional intelligence and an understanding enough about themselves or what they want to do that. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't try to go for a vision that you want, even if you got to revise it in 2 or 3 years. I think the difference is in one situation, you have somebody who says, I don't need a map. I'm just going to run to the next point I can see. And then I'll run to the next point after that and the next point after that. They have no idea where they're going to be in 6 or 7 steps. They don't even know which direction. Versus somebody who says, I have an idea of where I want to end up. I'm going to try to work my way there. Now, that person may revise that 5 or 6 times over their life, but they're in a much better position than the person who's just running to the edge of the field and then just deciding what's next after that.
Yeah.
So, that's the advice I would give myself. The other advice I would give myself is stop chasing after the shiny things. I spent too many years being the stereotypical, alpha male who wants to go out and get the next shiny thing. And you just realize, I said it earlier, it just becomes sand in your mouth once you get it. And there's trillions of dollars of marketing spent every day, every year, however you want to measure it, to go get those shiny things. And that's what being a man is about. That's what being successful is about. But it's not. You get to that point, you realize you have more of a treasure in your kids and in your wife than you can ever achieve out chasing shiny things. But we give a sliver of our time and attention and priority to those things versus what they deserve. And the matter is that companies don't grow and make money if we spend all our time and resources on relationships with our kids and our wife.
Yeah.
So there's no marketing that supports that, right? Apple's got to grow. Microsoft's got to grow. All the mortgage companies, all these companies have to have 10, 15, 20% growth every year, which means you got to be constantly chasing and buying the shiny things. So I'd love to turn our economy around where success equals having a better relationship with your kids and having a deeper marriage with your wife. And that's what we spend our money on. But it's not the reality. We have to be counterculture. We got to fight against the norm. We got to be the minority who invests in that while everyone else is saying you got to chase this, because that's just the way it is. You can't change that machine. But it does make it hard, and I wish I would have figured that out a long time ago.
Yeah, I think that obviously chasing the shiny object is a problem in business and in our family life, right? And I've told my wife, and I was recently telling somebody else when we were talking about goals. She was asking me like, how do you continue to chase these goals? Like you drive. You always going. And she was struggling. Like, should I keep just always going? And I because I wrote these goals down. That's where I want to be. And I think it should be a constant view, right? Like we revamp our 3-year vision. We actually just did today. We were starting to revamp our 3-year vision a little bit more, because every quarter we're going to brief our 3-year vision and what it looks like. Well, every quarter something changed in our company. So it's bound to happen. So, I fly small planes, and I would say, even if you're on autopilot, like 90% of the time you're off course. You just have to keep making these tiny little corrections and keep going to make sure that you get to your destination. So, as long as you know, again, the direction you need to go, then it's easy to make those course corrections and say, okay, well, I am off course a little bit here because I know that I need to go this direction for my family and this direction to do these things. But you can't unless you actually know where you're going. Like you said, I mean, you can't just get to the edge of the field and go, well, I'm almost there. Well, almost where? Where are you going? And it's an exhausting run to try to figure that out. And I've been there before I got married, and then again before I had kids, and then again now that I've got kids. It's like, golly, it just, you got to always keep readjusting. There was something else I was going to say. I don't remember what it was because I rambled for too long. It was really good too. It was a really good question, I should say. I don't remember what it was. So tell me more about the Epic Grit Club. What is it that you're actually driving people through? What are kind of what's your vision and mission for that? Let's dig in a little bit deeper on that.
Sure. So the mission of the Epic Grit Club is to help business leaders, owners, and operators understand the value of grit, how to cultivate it and grow it on an everyday basis, and then how to use that grit to change their own world so that they can impact more people. So we start with what is grit and why is it valuable? So the understanding is that, grit is the ability to do hard things on purpose. And you can grow that skill by doing things that exceed your current capabilities, by struggling and overcoming struggle. And really, a lot of business owners, and I approach business owners because I've been there and I've seen the unique cycles of business owners. A lot of people who've built successful businesses did it by utilizing grit. It's a common trait in entrepreneurs, business builders, wealth creators. But once you achieve a certain level of success, it becomes much easier to embrace comfort and luxury and things like that, which can often erode the grit that you once had. And then you wake up one day and you don't have that grit that you had before. And so it's actually the success that erodes the comfort, or the success that brings the comfort, and then the comfort erodes the grit. And likewise, then you have kids and you can afford every luxury for your kids, and then your kids don't have the grit that you had growing up. So we want to try to solve what I call the grit gap, which is that, grit brings success, success brings comfort, comfort erodes grit, and then you're back to zero. So the idea is that first we have to understand the value of it. Second, we have to know how to grow it. And that's by challenging yourselves every day, every week, a couple times a year to do really hard, really uncomfortable stuff. It starts with mindset, then it goes into action, then it goes into results. And that's what we did. We formed a club. People have accountability with other people. We do weekly grit challenges. These are just hard things on purpose. It could be a physical thing. It could be a relationship thing. It could be a project-oriented goal that you've been avoiding, and you have to identify that and what you can do to overcome it. This week, we're playing a thing called the rejection game, where you've got to get rejected once a day, 7 days in a row. It's just to get rid of the fear of failure. So I asked my Amazon guy if he'd go to lunch with me. I asked the guy at Dave & Buster's if he'd let me be a free game tester for an hour. I asked a famous scientist if he'd let me test one of his experiments on me for 30 days. So those are just things that you're going to get rejected at. You got to get rid of that fear of getting rejected, and that's our grit challenge for the week. So I'm having a blast. I'm leading guys through their own grit journeys. It's not about being an amazing athlete. It's just about challenging yourself to get into uncomfortable things, do the uncomfortable things, and then apply that to be a better business leader, a better father, a better husband. I've been around some of the hardest races and survival events in the world with a lot of people. And we have a saying called, so what, now what? The so what is you just did this event that was awesome. The now what is, what are you going to do with that, right? If you don't do anything to change the rest of your life with what you just learned, you failed the event. You finished the event, but if you don't change the rest of your life, the takeaway is what matters. If the only thing you do is get better at learning how to carry around a 100-pound sandbag through the wilderness in Mongolia, or how to build an ice cave in Iceland, those are very limiting skills. You're not going to be able to change the world with that skill, and you're not probably going to ever be able to use it much in the rest of your life. But if you learn how to take that, extrapolate it, be a better father, a business leader, husband, and a friend, you can change your world.
That's, yeah. Walk me through, you've got, tell me some more of the grit. The reason I'm asking is I'd love to put my kid through some of these grit things as well. Because I think that we could set up some grit games for all of our kids that will help build this out. There's that saying, as you were saying, going through, the grit has caused you to be able to be a successful entrepreneur. It reminds me of that, that wonderful thing of, hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times create strong men. It just kind of keeps going. So if, and we've talked about it multiple times in GoBundance, like how do we make sure that our kids get the resilience that they need that we had to build going through the things we did that they're never going to hopefully ever have to experience. So on a weekly basis, you're putting a bunch of guys who are very successful through some things that make it difficult for them. What are some more examples of some of these things that make it difficult for them that you're forcing people to go into to stretch their limits?
So we've got a yearly.
Don't share too much because people still need to be able to go and join so that they don't know what to expect. Right?
Yeah. So we do a yearly program. It's 52 weeks. So we're doing 52 grit challenges a year. And we've just gone through our 10th week because we just launched the club a couple months ago. But in our first 10 weeks, we've done, an anonymous gratitude challenge where you had to go personally benefit an individual in some meaningful way where you didn't get any credit or any recognition or any benefit. You can't help someone who can help you back, right? Mm-hmm. So this is the challenge we went through.